Hi everyone, it's Miss Morgan. I'm coming back to you guys with our last section of our book, The Trouble with Chickens. So we're finally going to figure out how JJ solves the mystery, how he's going to save the day. I'm so excited. And then we'll have a few discussion questions to wrap up the book at the end. If you like this book, feel free to like this video, or you could send me a message on Talking Points, or you can just comment below. I will link all of the sections that we've read in the past in this video, so that way if you want to go back and listen to it again, or if you're listening to it for the first time, you'll be able to find everything. But yeah, let's just get started. So chapter 21, we have chapters 21, 22, and 23 to read today. So chapter 21 is called Rescue. The sun had set and the kitchen was dark. The fireworks had begun. They shed just enough light for us to make out our own shadows. Unlocking the bolt was easy for Moosh. All it took was some jerky movements of her head with her beak in the loop of the bolt. I have to admit, she's pretty handy with that sharp beak of hers. I had Poppy, Sweetie, and Dirt in the cage with me, but we could barely see one another. I knew that they were counting on me, but suddenly it hit me that I was counting on them too. It was not a great feeling. All kinds of things can affect the outcome of a rescue. Timing, weather, terrain, fatigue, and sometimes just dumb luck. We were counting on everything going just right. That rarely happens with people. I had no idea what the odds were with chickens. Vince arrived right on time. About 2 feet in front of the crate, Moosh stopped him in his tracks. "I'll take off the funnel. I've got the sharpest beak," she said. Her voice shook a little, but Vince didn't seem to notice. "Fine by me," said Vince. Moosh had to act fast now. If she hesitated, we were lost. I had a new appreciation for the pajama guy in the snowy cave, the lost skier in the Alps, and the victims waiting under piles of debris. My heart always pounded with excitement as the rescue got closer. Theirs was always pounding with fear. It was not the same feeling. I liked the rescue beat much better. "This is harder than it looks," said Moosh, buying herself some time as she worked furiously on Vince's collar instead of the funnel. "Hurry it up," Vince growled. I said nothing, but silently I seconded the motion. He sounded like he meant business. Moosh stood her ground and kept on pecking. "Lower your head," she told him. Carefully, Moosh clipped the infrared tag off Vince's collar and held it in her beak. Then she dropped it on the floor and quickly kicked it to Sugar. Wait for it, I told myself. My heart was pounding. Vince caught a glimpse of Sugar running towards the crate with the tag. Wait for it, I told myself. I held my breath. While Sugar was running back to the cage, Dirt, Poppy, and Sweetie ran out the back of the crate between the bars. Now! I threw open the unlocked cage door and made just enough room for Vince. Vince came down hard on his front paws and slid right in head first. It wasn't the linoleum that did him in. It was the empty plastic bottles. Just one more reason to recycle. Gingerly, I stepped over his big back paws and out the door. Dirt did the honors of slamming the door closed. Moosh slid the lock back into place. Vince was inside the cage. I was outside the cage. Just the way I liked it. "Great plan," I said to Dirt. "Great teacher," she replied. My heart was still pounding, but it was the rescue beat now. So they finally got Vince out of the cage, and they got Vince into the cage. They got JJ out of the cage, and let's see how Vince is going to react to how they cracked his plan. There was still something I didn't understand. So this is chapter 22, Inside Out. I turned to Vince. "Why did you chase me away from here the first time? What about that wrestling match with the doggy door?" "Big search and rescue hero," he snarled. "Dogs like you are easy to read. If you didn't think the chicks were in danger, there wouldn't be any rescue, would there?" He had a point. Poppy and Sweetie were next. "And you've been watching television for 2 days?" "We came for the TV, but we stayed for the books," said Sweetie. Couldn't argue with that. The fireworks were over and it was time to go. Those little chicks were still in a heap of trouble with their mom, but at least my trouble was over. "What's wrong with you anyway?" I asked Vince. "What do you mean?" "The giant funnel?" Chronic ear infection. I changed the subject. Why did you let Sugar in here in the first place? Can't reach my ears. Sorry? She scratches my ears with her beak. I tried not to laugh. I still had something on my mind. How did you know that Sugar wrote the notes? I asked Moosh. She took a deep breath. She was back in my good graces and wanted to stay there. Call it mother's instinct, she said. You could have told me, I answered. You would have walked away, she said. True, I said. I was just a worried mom looking for my kids. I did what I had to do. She was looking me in the eye. Her left foot was perfectly still. All right, Moosh, you and me are square. I thought she smiled, but then again, it's tough to tell with a beak. So Moosh and JJ made up, and they're all on the same page again. We have the answers to all of our questions. Can you believe that Vince has chronic ear infection? That sounds horrible. So anyway, this is our last chapter, Chapter 3, Reward. About that cheeseburger, I said to Moosh. There's no cheeseburger, she said, but you knew that. I guess I did, I replied. Moosh headed back to the living room and hopped up on the couch. I watched as Sugar waited a beat, then did the same. The rest of the brood followed. They were finally all together, but there was a huge spot between Moosh and Sugar. It didn't make any sense. That must be one big chicken you're missing, I joked. Moosh looked right at me. Sugar motioned for me with her tiny wing. The spot between Moosh and Sugar was just my size. It did look kind of comfy on there. I jumped up on the couch. Moosh, me, Sugar, Poppy, Sweetie, Dirt. Sometimes you find yourself exactly where you belong. And there they all are, cuddled up on the couch. So that was the end of our book. I'm going to read the epilogue. Vince the funnel got his ear tubes as planned and came back with an even bigger funnel wrapped around his head. Occasionally, we hear a crash coming from the house, and we know he still hasn't quite adjusted to it. I had to give Vince credit, though. He knew exactly how to push my buttons. Smart guy. Can't stand him, but he's a smart guy. Sugar is teaching the rest of the family to read. We helped ourselves to a few books before we left the house that night. Barb doesn't seem to have noticed. Sometimes when the chicks gather in the doghouse, I entertain them with tales of rescue from my glory days. It was Dirt who asked me why my rescue days were over. She always catches me off guard, that one. I wasn't ready to tell that story yet, but sooner or later, I'll tell. And if Sugar has her way, and she usually does, I guess it'll be sooner, not later, because Sugar, well, that chick will sure go a long way out of her way for a good story. So that was it. That's the end of The Trouble with Chickens. I really liked this story. I don't know about you all. I think it was so awesome. I love the way it was told, and I'm so glad it had a happy ending. So let's play. Let's go through our discussion questions really quick. So who unlocked the lock on the dog crate? It was at the beginning of chapter 21. Moosh unlocked the dog crate. She did it very quickly, but she did it with her beak. What types of things did JJ say could affect a rescue? So right before the rescue was starting, JJ was saying how nervous he was because there's so many things that could happen that could make a rescue go bad. Do you remember any of those things? Once Moose got the collar off, she headed back towards the crate, which she had already unlocked. And after waiting for the right moment, JJ opened the crate and came out as Vince was running after Moosh, and they locked him in. So in between all of that, Moosh, what if she couldn't get the collar off? What if the crate hadn't opened up right? What if Vince didn't run into the crate after JJ? There's so many things that could have gone wrong. Okay, so what had Poppy and Sweetie been doing for the 2 days they had been in the house? So what did they come for, and then why did they end up staying? They came for the TV, but they stayed for the books. And then finally, why did Vince have to wear the funnel? He had chronic ear infections. All right, so that's the end of our story. That's the end of our discussion questions. I hope you enjoyed them both. And I hope to read another story with you all over the summer. So if you have any suggestions, any stories you want to read, let me know, and I will be happy to do some research and read them for you if you'd like. So I hope you all have a great summer vacation. I hope to see some of you over the summer for our summer program, but if not, I'm sure I'll see you in the fall. And yeah, enjoy your last week of school, everyone. Bye.